For many years now, educators and instructional designers alike have used the ADDIE instructional design ID method as a framework for designing and developing educational and training programs. According to Forest 2014, ADDIE stands for Analyze, Design, Develop, Implement, and Evaluate. Educators, instructional designers, and training developers find this approach very useful. As an ID model, ADDIE model has found wide acceptance and use. The five top components of ADDIE are analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate, which we're going to discuss about individuals one by one. Analyze is the first component, which is called goal setting stage. Generally, it addresses the following issues, like, for example, what is the typical background of the student? What do the students need to accomplish at the end of the program? What are the learners' needs? What are the skill requirements? Determining popular methods being used around the subject and taking a look at what needs to be developed in and improved in future. Determining the pros and cons between online and classroom-based study. What type of learning environment is preferred? Blended, face-to-face, or both? The next one is design. So after analyzing, the second step will be design. In the design phase, the focus is on learning objectives, lesson plans, assessments, and the instruments that are being used, like media selection. During the design stage, the IDs need to determine the different types of media that is required to be used, audio, video, or graphics. What are the types of activity that needs to be generated during the study? Is it going to be collaborative or interactive? How will you as a teacher implement the parts of the project? How about time frame? Like how much time is to be assigned to each task? The different mental processes needed by the participants in order to meet the targets of the project. Knowledge and skill developed after each task is also important. Do you have a way to determine that such value has been achieved? What is the mechanism designed by you to obtain the learner's feedback on material learned? So whatever you're designing, you should remember that you should design assessment method attached so that you can figure out the feedback of the learners. Given the wide variety of student preferences and learning styles, what method will you implement to make sure that the program fits their wants? How will you design your project activities? So all these questions should be answered when you're designing um, your method. The development stage is all about putting the two previous stages into action. So after designing, you develop it. So what all those two previous stages, like analyzing and designing, are going to put into action. So development involves creating and testing of learning outcomes. It aims to address the following questions, like, are you creating materials as per schedule according to the timetable? Are the members working effectively as a team? Are the materials produced up to task on what they were intended for? The next step will be implementation. So after developing, you will implement. To make sure maximum efficiency and positive results are obtained, the IDs strive to redesign, update, and edit the course in order to ensure that everything has been delivered effectively. For example, you need to know what is the emotional feedback given to you by teachers and students during initial demonstration of the project. As the project proceeds, do you see that IDs are able to grasp the topic immediately, or do they need help? Explain how you are going to deal with any possible errors during testing. So, whenever you're implementing your project, you need to you need to be able to explain that if there's possible error, how are you going to move on? How are you going to deal with that error? What will you do if things do not go as planned? Let's say, are you prepared? Do you have any backup plan or backup tool in case of failure of the project? Let's say there's a technical issue. Are there any other instruments planned as a backup instrument in order to cover the backup strategy and let you move on? Will you go for implementation on a small scale or a large scale? When the students groups gets the material, can they work independently, or is constant guidance required? The final step will be, of course, evaluation. So this phase, uh, the same as other regular evaluations, can be broken into parts: formative and summative evaluation. The formative phase happens while students and IDs are conducting the study, and the summative occurs at the end of the program. But the main goal of the evaluation overall is to determine if the goals have been met and to establish what will be required moving forward in order to further the efficiency and success rate of the project. This method helped me to categorize all that I'm doing in my classroom. I basically go through all the steps, but I didn't know that I can put them all in categories and organize them and use them in an effective way. Of course, this method is going to be used in my literature review project, the research project that I'm working on it, and for sure in future I'm going to use this method in my teachings and lesson plans. Thanks for watching.